Hello, everybody. My name is Zark. I am a co-commentator of Rolling Storm, also known as Red. We've been just now commentating on the games at 7 p.m. Central European time between Argo and the Win. Both games happened on two maps, Castilla and Deadrail. With me right now is one of the players on Argo's team, Shaka. Hello, Shaka.
Hello, guys. Nice to be here.
Same goes for us, for viewers as well. Basically, uh, well, first of all, well done by you guys against Win. We really did not expect the chance of you just beating them to the pulp.
To be honest, we didn't either. Like,
So yeah, I guess that's mutual. In any case, if we now proceed to the questions, one of the questions would be how confident were you before you started the games against Win, and what were your expectations of them?
well, I would describe it as like the mood in the clan and mainly in the tacticians team, which is made of 4 players. I could shout out, make a shout out to them.
Yeah,
Favor, Honzes, and Blunicum Star, who helped a lot, and we just were creating during the yesterday's evening the tactics, and we were preparing for Win. And I have watched all the Win games. We have tried to find a pattern in what they play, and I think we managed to find a weak spot.
so if you don't want to disclose the info, if you want to tell us what was the weak spot, maybe Win, if they are listening to this after the interview was done, what were the weak spots in your opinion on tactics of Win?
Well, how they managed to or they definitely have strong tactics, and it's not easy to beat. But one pattern which is like not changing too much is not really going for caps aggressively, and rarely rushing. And they usually at the start of the game, they are weak to, I would describe it as rushes. They have some kind of isolated groups which are not really well covered, and they kind of um, rely on those groups being safe and like rotating if they get in trouble. But I think that's possible to punish, at least on some maps, by getting either a point advantage, and also just getting some kind of tank advantage on like 3 versus 2. And yeah, for example, on the Castilla from the south, or the first game, we were sending those 3i7s into A cap, which is usually very open and not easy to cap, with the idea in our heads that we can just isolate those 2 tanks which we were expecting, and kept the base, and also spot those TDs who we were expecting to camp on the spawn, or not on the spawn, on the rage line next to the spawn. And we were supposed to kill those TDs, or at least one of them, with double tap of E4s and possibly even E5 and mouse. So yeah,
So yeah, so basically you countered that, as we did see in the stream, as Castilla and Dead Rail are basically wide open maps with a lot of open ground and high, like big corridors to cover. Basically, you exploited that with E3s and E4s. Basically, is that correct?
as well, yeah, because if you get point advantage and you just have to defend, it doesn't matter that you have kind of a lower individual player skill, which is, I would say, our case as well. Not really sure about that. Um, and definitely, you just don't. The main weak spot of all the TDs, and especially E3, is like the mobility. So if you need it to rotate or to push aggressively, it just sucks. But as long as you can just hold a position, it's absolutely fine, and it can just obliterate their opponent or its opponent.
Um, yeah, on the point of personal uh, like expectancy and how every single player on your team was performing. Have you noticed any like big mistakes that maybe your team did this evening?
Well, there were a few some like traits which weren't necessary, um, but I don't like, for example, on E4 on when we were playing the Castilla from the north with those three TDs strat. Um, we were we lost like over 1,000 HP on our E4 because it got spotted, and that was kind of expectable. And the player probably should have backed up before he could have got spotted. But I don't think those mistakes are really like so crucial. And mainly, if you win, if it's dumb but it works, it's not dumb, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Famous jingles words right there.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
yeah, in any case, one more position on Castilla that I was really kind of impressed by. You actually took a mouse on the second game, if I'm not mistaken, and put it at C. And E3 was put behind him, basically for support in case mouse gets surrounded.
It was
I
E4.
E4, yeah, excuse me.
Yeah,
Uh, in any case, a destroyer supporting a mouse, which you don't do, like clans don't usually put their mouse there. They maybe put it near B, but if they put something at C from heavy tanks, it's usually a nice 7. So how did you come up to the idea that you need a mouse right in that position?
well, at the start of the game, we also had E100 there, which rotated after a minute to the A cap and held A. But we were kind of prepared for them rushing us, because what we were expecting was them making some or doing some research on us as well, and they could have noticed kind of that our C side is vulnerable in some terms to a huge rush. So we were kind of like not sure if they are going to do that, um, and therefore the mouse, because it can just hold off a rush extremely long, and if they try to focus it, he can just back up into the next valley, and they get into crossfire while trying to rush him, and he's covered by TDs, and yeah.
So
So that's
basically, you're saying that the mouse was not really used as some kind of a deterrent for the enemy, but it was like just for holding that position as long as possible, basically a sponge.
yeah, a sponge and also a spotter for C. It has good gun depression there. It's like multiple uses. It can also, in if they decided to like rotate heavily to A, we could also use it to cap C. Yeah, it's kind of all around vehicle there. I know it's strange to say that about a mouse, but it's kind of true in that position.
Yeah, anything that my friend commentator Red would like to add?
Well, I would just first of all like to congratulate Argo, especially you, Shaka, for an excellent series of games versus Win. They are an extremely tough opponent, and they've shown time and time again in this tournament and also the tournaments organized by Wargaming how much of a serious competitor they are. These guys beat the top Legion team 3-1 in the second round. So to beat them so convincingly, it really shows that you guys, the strategic approach and what you guys were just discussing with regards to the use of the mouse. I love that. I love seeing interesting tanks in different positions and seeing it work. And you have to think, okay, like these guys actually sat down and figured out how to make this work. Like everything is by design, not just on a whim. Um, so now you guys are through to the final. which is superb. You're going to be playing either Raid or Legion. I'm going to ask. It's a bit of a mean question. I'm going to ask it.
Yeah.
Who
What
would
are
you
we expecting rather? Or
who would you prefer, and who are you expecting? So 2 questions. 1, who would you rather face, and who do you think you're going to face?
Huh. Well, I mean, we have already like got annihilated by both of those clans during this tournament, and I don't know. Maybe like Legion. I feel like Legion are much more flexible in terms of strategies, and maybe it's due to their like long history. But they have such a like so many good tactics which they can use on every single map. So maybe that's what makes them unpredictable and really hard to play against. So they would be probably like both like they're probably more likely, in my opinion, to beat Raid, and I also don't want to play them.
That's fair. That's fair enough. But the final, though, is of course going to be a best of 9, with the maps being selected by the clan leads. That map selection process will be revealed by Dutch Punisher, one of the organizers of the Euroleague tournament, in due
That's news
course.
for me.
Yeah. So, in terms of how do you feel about a best of 9? Because that's a very long series of games. Is that something that you think you can make advantage of by playing lots of maps, or is that going to be quite tricky for you, having to develop multiple strategies?
Oh well, in terms of strategies, that's not really a big issue. We have like strategies for every single map. The problem is to make a strategy which will work against the like best top, at least top 3 in Europe. Like either even if it's Raid or if it's Legion. Um, I mean, you can't just like go there with some casual strat and expect it to work because they have it all covered.
Of course, you have to definitely be bringing your A game along. And in terms of strong maps, because the maps we saw you play this evening, Castilla and Dead Rail, Thomas from Legion, he said that those maps were quite. He described them as being quite campy. There's lots of open sight lines. Saw lots of TDs from both teams on both maps.
Yeah.
What kind of maps? Your experience playing with ARGO. What kind of maps do you guys prefer? What sort of environments do you guys enjoy the most?
Well, I'm sorry, but like both of our upcoming opponents are going to watch this, and I don't want to get us into even more disadvantage.
No, that's fair. That is an absolutely fine answer. And I love it, like being strategic and looking at the next level. So if you don't want to answer any questions, you don't
Like,
have
I'm
to.
fine about talking about the games which have been played out right now, because it doesn't actually matter in the future too much.
Okay,
But
cool. So
yeah, I want to keep some aces in the sleeve.
Absolutely. No, I don't blame you. I don't blame you one bit. Especially going up against Raid and Legion, you need to have some tricks up your sleeve. I think any clan to come up against those guys. So on Castilla, you took some quite interesting tanks. What was the sort of general strategy for Castilla? Because I know that you said you've kind of been studying Win, and you noticed that they didn't really push very much from the beginning. They kind of held off and had some isolated tanks around the map. When you sort of that first and only game, you won in 3 straight games versus Win this evening. What was the kind of the general thought process for how you were going to take the victory on that map from that spawn?
Like, you mean when the game started or before the match?
Yeah, before the match, and then also when the game started. So when you saw the opponent's lineup of tanks.
yeah, basically when we saw the opponent's lineup, it was like, oh shit, they're bringing something else than we expected. We are doomed.
What were you expecting?
Yeah, we were, for example, not expecting T-57s heavy at all. Like that was something which was very novel from them, and we had to work out on the move what they are going to do with them, and whether we can still use the strat we are planning on doing.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it almost didn't pay off because those IS-7s were actually overwhelmed by 4 tanks instead of being the overwhelming force.
This is on Castillo or Dead Rail? Sorry.
Yeah, the Castilla. I'm still talking.
Castillo. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
you meant Dead Rail?
I meant Dead Rail, but no, that's true.
Yeah, sorry. Dead Rail. Our thought process was that we noticed that they had all their tanks above the rails, so we can punish that, and they rarely play for the down, like the down part of the map, the valley and A area. So we were thinking, okay, we can use the E3 to cover the whole map because it won't get trashed if they have all their tanks above the rails, and we can just hold them off there on C and B.
Yeah, because you were actually driving the E3, and the E3 is a very slow tank. So were you sort of, when you saw the tanks sort of being the enemy tanks being spotted up on the map, were you quite confident actually pushing into that cap? I noticed that your bat chat player rotated in behind into the bottom left corner, sort of behind you, just after you pushed in. Were you worried that you were going to get rushed there in being in a relatively isolated position, or were you quite confident that they wouldn't push you?
No. We were sure. We are like 90% sure that they only have one tank in the corner behind A. So it was actually a mistake from the bat chat player to go behind me and try to cover me.
But it worked in the end.
Yeah, it definitely worked. Like, don't take me wrong, but the strategy was actually for him to stay up and cover C because we were expecting Win to rush, which actually happened later on.
Yeah, but it was, well, the push came a little bit too late. I am really enjoying this, but unfortunately we actually have to go because the next stream is going to be coming up in about 5 minutes' time, which is going to be the match between Legion and Raid on the same maps.
I'm really curious. I'm really curious what they are going to bring up.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Shaka 1972 from the ARGO clan for joining us. Send my regards to Favor CZ and Crywolf19. It was great to see those guys playing alongside you this evening. And I hope you tune in, and everyone at home watching as well, hope you tune into the game that's coming up now. I know, Shaka, you're probably going to be pouring through that footage from this evening, looking for anything that you can gain an advantage on Friday's final games.
Definitely, we were definitely the underdogs, and like if we were to say at the start of the Euroleague that we are going to even be in the top 6, not even to say that in the finals, everybody would laugh at us. Even we ourselves would just not take us serious, and it kind of happened, a miracle. And the goal for us is, I am not really certain, like we can actually win against those top clans, but we will at least try to make it hard for them. We will
You've proved the doubters wrong so far, so I wouldn't sell yourself short at this point. You've made it into the final. Excellent series of games versus wins. So thank you very much, Shaka from ARGO Clan. Also thanks to commentator Ark. And also thanks again to Gan for hosting and streaming on the channel for us, and to the organisers from the Blitz event community. And we're going to have to go and get ready for the next games. Thank you very much, guys. Bye.
See you.